Welcome, miladies of inestimable value. The way people treat you is a statement about them. The way you respond is a statement about you. This isn't just a catchy quote. It's a survival mantra in today's world of unsolicited opinions, casual disrespect, and keyboard warriors. Did you know that studies show rude behavior spreads like a virus, infecting everyone in its path? Well, Sigma females have found the antidote, and spoiler alert, it's not what you think. They don't clap back, throw tantrums, or write passive-aggressive posts. Instead, they've mastered an art form, a psychological chess game where they outwit, outclass, and outmaneuver rudeness without breaking a sweat. If you've ever wondered how someone can dismantle bad behavior without so much as batting an eye, buckle up. What you're about to learn isn't just strategy. It's Sigma brilliance in action. Number 1. Serving ice-cold logic. When faced with rudeness, Sigma females don't fight fire with fire. They douse it with cold, hard logic. While most people either blow up or shrink under the weight of a rude comment, a Sigma female steps back and analyzes it like she's solving a puzzle. She doesn't just hear what's said. She dissects it, pulls it apart, and strips it of its power. Then, with the precision of a brain surgeon and the flair of a stand-up comedian, she responds in a way that leaves the other person questioning their entire existence. For instance, if someone tries to undermine her intelligence with a snide remark, she doesn't flinch. She might casually drop a fact or ask a pointed question so sharp it cuts through the nonsense. "Oh, interesting perspective. Can you explain how that's relevant to the conversation?" Boom. Suddenly, the rude person is scrambling to sound coherent, and the focus has shifted to their inadequacy rather than the Sigma's response. It's a power move without the theatrics, and it works every time. What makes this approach even more brilliant is how calm and unbothered she remains throughout. She knows rudeness thrives on emotional reactions, so she denies it the satisfaction. Instead, her logic cuts deeper than any insult ever could. It's not malicious either. It's like handing someone their own words on a silver platter and watching them realize how ridiculous they sound. Here's the twist. This isn't about showing off her intellect. It's about showing the rude person that she won't stoop to their level. By using logic, she sets the bar so high that the offender has no choice but to either rise to it or walk away looking foolish. Either way, the Sigma wins, and she does it with style. Number 2. Mastering the question trap. When someone comes at a Sigma female with rudeness, she doesn't respond with rage or retreat. Instead, she flips the script by throwing the spotlight right back on the offender. Her weapon of choice? The question trap. It's a psychological booby trap disguised as innocent curiosity, and it works like magic. Let's say someone snaps at her with a condescending, "Why don't you ever understand simple things?" A typical person might get defensive or lash out, but not a Sigma. She calmly tilts her head and responds with something like, "What makes you think that's the best way to get your point across?" Suddenly, the rude person is in the hot seat. Her question isn't just a reply, it's a mirror, forcing them to confront their own tone and behavior. And here's the kicker. She asks it so coolly, so matter-of-factly, that it doesn't even feel confrontational. It just feels awkward. This is where the brilliance of the Sigma lies. By asking these kinds of pointed questions, she forces rude people to explain themselves. And spoiler, most can't. Their rudeness often stems from insecurity, frustration, or a need for attention, and those motives don't hold up under scrutiny. The beauty of the question trap is that it doesn't involve raising her voice, making a scene, or even looking upset. It's pure psychological jujitsu, using the offender's own energy against them. What's even funnier is how often the rude person will start backtracking, stumbling over their words or offering half-hearted apologies. The Sigma doesn't need to win an argument because she's already won the moment they're forced to explain their nonsense. It's like watching someone untie a knot they created. And she gets to walk away unbothered, leaving them to wrestle with their own awkwardness. Number 3. Non-reaction as a statement. Sigma females are masters of the non-reaction, a skill that most people underestimate, but one that delivers devastating results. When someone throws a rude comment their way, they don't flinch, roll their eyes, or even acknowledge it. They let the rudeness dangle awkwardly in the air like an uninvited guest no one wants to deal with. It's not because they're timid or unsure. It's because they know there's no better way to render someone irrelevant than by simply refusing to engage. Here's the genius behind it. Rude people thrive on attention. They're like those pests that keep coming back as long as you keep feeding them. Sigma females starve them. They don't laugh at the rude joke, don't argue with the snide comment, and don't give that little smirk that would let the offender think they've made an impact. They treat the entire situation like static noise, there, but not worth listening to. This non-reaction often leaves the rude person in an awkward limbo. Should they repeat the insult, escalate it, pretend it didn't happen? The Sigma doesn't care. She's already moved on mentally, leaving the offender to stew in their own awkwardness. It's psychological warfare without the effort. What's even more impressive is how calm and composed she looks while doing it. Her body language says, "Your behavior doesn't deserve a place in my day," and that's the ultimate power move. It's the equivalent of watching someone yell into an empty void while the Sigma sits there sipping her metaphorical tea, utterly unbothered. The best part? This tactic doesn't just silence rudeness, it completely disarms it. Without a reaction to fuel their behavior, the rude person is left standing there with their negativity bouncing back at them. And that, right there, is how a Sigma wins without saying a word. Number 4. Mirroring to reflect the energy back. When someone decides to get snarky with a Sigma female, they might think they're in for an easy win. What they don't realize is that Sigma females have a subtle yet brilliant way of flipping the script: mirroring. It's not about stooping to the same level of rudeness. It's about holding up a mirror so precise that the offender is forced to see just how absurd they're acting. And the beauty of it? It's done so effortlessly that the rude person doesn't even realize what's happening until it's too late. Let's say someone snaps at her with a sarcastic, "Oh, thanks for showing up on time, like always." Instead of getting defensive or explaining herself, the Sigma might reply with an equally snarky, "Oh, you're so welcome. Your passive-aggressive commentary really brightens my day." Delivered with the perfect balance of calm and wit, it's enough to make the offender stop and wonder if their tone was as ridiculous as it now sounds. Spoiler alert, it was. What makes this tactic so effective is that it doesn't escalate the situation. Sigma females don't yell, argue, or throw tantrums. They simply reflect the energy back, like a human mirror, forcing the rude person to confront their own behavior in real time. It's like giving them a taste of their own medicine, but with a twist of cleverness that leaves them questioning their life choices. And let's be honest, it's satisfying to watch someone squirm under the weight of their own words. But for the Sigma, it's not about pettiness or revenge. It's about setting a boundary without wasting emotional energy. By reflecting the rudeness right back, she sends a clear message. Your tone, not cute. Your attitude, keep it to yourself. Number 5. Turning rudeness into a lesson. Sigma females have an uncanny ability to turn even the most obnoxious rudeness into a teachable moment, and they do it with a level of calm that can be downright unnerving. When faced with someone's rude comment or behavior, they don't snap back or retreat. Instead, they calmly hold up the proverbial red flag and call out the behavior with a precision that's impossible to ignore. It's not about embarrassing the person. It's about making them pause and rethink their actions entirely. For instance, if someone blurts out something offensive, a Sigma might reply, "That's an interesting choice of words. Are you aware how that might come across to someone?" It's not a slap in the face, but it's also far from subtle. It's direct enough to make the offender stop in their tracks, but calm enough to avoid escalating the situation. The sheer confidence behind it forces the rude person to reflect, which, let's face it, they probably haven't done in years. The brilliance of this approach is how disarming it is. Most people expect either an emotional meltdown or total avoidance when they're rude, but a Sigma serves up logic with a side of accountability. And because it's done with zero malice, it's almost impossible for the rude person to respond with more hostility without looking even worse. It's like getting called to the principal's office by someone who's smarter, cooler, and entirely unbothered by your nonsense. What makes this tactic even more exceptional is its ripple effect. A rude person might enter the conversation thinking their behavior is acceptable, but they leave with a sense of awkward self-awareness they weren't ready for. It's not just a lesson for the moment. It's a subtle nudge toward becoming a better human. And if that's not the ultimate Sigma flex, what is? Number 6. Cutting off the energy supply. Sigma females have perfected the art of suffocating rudeness without lifting a finger. They know that rude people feed off reactions, whether it's anger, frustration, or even mild annoyance. So what do? They give them nothing. No eye rolls, no sarcastic retorts, not even a twitch of irritation. They simply freeze out the offender with a blank, uninterested expression that might as well be a do not disturb sign for bad behavior. This isn't your average silent treatment, it's a power move. By refusing to engage, they strip the rude person of the validation they crave. That cutting remark? It hangs awkwardly in the air, with nowhere to land. The rude person's smug little fire fizzles out because, let's be real, what's the point of being snarky if no one acknowledges it? The beauty of this tactic is how effortless it looks. While others might fume or stumble over a comeback, the Sigma remains an unshakable wall of indifference. It's not passive aggressiveness either. It's a deliberate act of prioritizing her energy. She's saying, without words, your negativity isn't worth a single second of my focus. That kind of detachment is not just powerful, it's downright intimidating. And here's where the humor comes in. The rude person often ends up more flustered than the Sigma. They'll try harder, tossing out more snark in the hope of breaking through, only to be met with the same blank stare. It's like watching someone argue with a mannequin, and honestly, it's hilarious. By cutting off the oxygen supply, the Sigma doesn't just silence rudeness, she renders it irrelevant. It's the ultimate checkmate, played with nothing more than silence and a look that says, try harder, or better yet, don't. Number 7. Flipping the script with over-politeness. When rudeness crosses a Sigma female's path, she doesn't meet it with anger or irritation. Instead, she flips the script entirely, using exaggerated politeness to disarm and confuse the offender. It's not just kindness. It's weaponized kindness, delivered with just enough subtle sarcasm to make the rude person question their entire approach. For example, if someone rudely snaps, "Are you even paying attention?" the Sigma might respond with, "Oh, thank you so much for checking on me. Your concern is truly heartwarming." It's delivered with a straight face, so smooth that it almost feels genuine, almost. The sarcasm is just beneath the surface, leaving the rude person unsure if they're being praised, mocked, or both. Spoiler, it's both. This approach works wonders because it throws people off their game. Rudeness thrives on conflict, but when met with unexpected courtesy, it deflates instantly. The offender is left standing there, caught between confusion and embarrassment, wondering how their snarky comment somehow turned into a one-sided roast. It's a psychological judo move, using their negativity against them while appearing to take the high road. What's even more brilliant is how it maintains the Sigma's composure. She doesn't stoop to their level or let them get under her skin. Instead, she takes control of the interaction, setting a tone that's so disarming it leaves the rude person floundering. And let's face it, watching someone stumble over their own arrogance is endlessly satisfying. This isn't about being fake or passive-aggressive. It's about showing that rudeness doesn't deserve the satisfaction of a traditional response. By flipping the script, the Sigma makes it clear. Your negativity is your problem, not mine. But thanks for the laugh. Number 8. Leveraging their poker face. Sigma females are masters of the poker face, wielding it like a shield against rudeness. When someone tries to provoke them, they maintain a calm, neutral expression that gives absolutely nothing away. No raised eyebrows, no smirk, no flash of irritation, just a steady, unreadable gaze that says, "Is that all you've got?" This complete lack of visible reaction leaves rude people stranded, unsure if their comment landed, misfired, or simply didn't matter at all. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The genius of the poker face lies in its ability to turn the tables without uttering a word. Rude people thrive on validation, whether it's anger, defensiveness, or even discomfort. A Sigma's neutral expression is like hitting a brick wall. They're left scrambling for a sign that they've made an impact. But instead of rattling the Sigma, the aggressor ends up frustrating themselves. It's like playing darts, only to realize you're aiming at an invisible board. What makes this tactic even more powerful is the psychological upper hand it provides. The aggressor, desperate for a reaction, might double down on their behavior, saying something even ruder to get a rise. But the Sigma doesn't budge. Her composure is bulletproof and her silence speaks volumes. You don't matter enough to affect me. That's the kind of indifference that stings more than any comeback ever could. Adding to the brilliance is the unspoken humor of the situation. Watching someone try and fail to provoke a Sigma is like watching someone argue with a statue. It's awkward, futile, and honestly, a little entertaining. The Sigma, of course, remains unbothered, letting the aggressor's frustration be their own undoing. Because in the end, a poker face isn't just about hiding emotions. It's about showing the world that some battles simply aren't worth fighting. Number 9, redirecting the focus to something more worthwhile. When a rude comment or negative energy enters the conversation, Sigma females have a remarkable ability to redirect it with the finesse of a seasoned diplomat. Instead of engaging with the negativity or sinking into the mire of conflict, they gracefully shift the focus to something more worthwhile, whether it's a topic that's positive, constructive, or just plain light-hearted. It's their way of subtly declaring, this conversation deserves better than your bad vibes. Picture this. Someone makes a snide remark, maybe a sarcastic jab about something trivial. Most people might feel the need to respond either defensively or with an equally sharp retort. But the Sigma female, she doesn't take the bait. Instead, she might casually mention a new book she's reading or ask for recommendations on something completely unrelated. It's not avoidance, it's a strategic redirection. She's setting the tone for a more elevated conversation, effortlessly lifting the energy of the room. The genius behind this tactic is its subtlety and elegance. Rather than feeding into negativity and giving the rude person the attention they crave, the Sigma silently takes control of the interaction, showing that she's interested in things that actually matter. It's a quiet but firm statement that rudeness isn't even worth her time, and it encourages others in the conversation to follow suit. What's even more brilliant is how it leaves the rude person disarmed. They came in looking for conflict, but now they're confronted with an atmosphere that's completely unbothered by their bad energy. It's like trying to start a fight in a room full of people talking about gardening. There's simply no space for their negativity to take root. And if they try to bring the conversation back to the unpleasantness, the Sigma redirects once again, effortlessly reinforcing that the only thing worth discussing is something that contributes to the overall vibe. At the heart of this approach is the Sigma's ability to maintain a sense of personal control. She doesn't let others dictate the tone of the conversation, nor does she waste time on things that don't serve her. She knows that her energy is valuable, and she's not about to let some negativity tarnish it. Instead, she lifts the conversation to a level where only things of substance can thrive, and in doing so, she effortlessly wins the exchange. Number 10, mastering the power of silence. Sigma females have an uncanny ability to wield silence like a weapon, and when it comes to dealing with rude people, it's nothing short of genius. Instead of engaging with petty comments or fueling a conflict, they simply go silent. This isn't the type of silence that's awkward or uncomfortable. It's deliberate, calm, and loaded with intent. It's as if they've hit the mute button on the conversation, and suddenly the rude person is left to stew in their own nonsense without getting any kind of reaction. The beauty of this tactic lies in its power to throw the aggressor completely off balance. Rude people often rely on stirring emotions, anger, frustration, or even guilt, because that's the energy they feed on. But when met with nothing but silence, they're immediately disoriented. It's as though the rug has been pulled from under them, and they're left standing in their own pettiness with no one to validate it. What's worse, they're not sure if they've been dismissed, ignored, or simply not worth the energy to respond to. Silence reflects the Sigma's indifference, and it's more cutting than any sharp retort could ever be. It's a reminder that not every comment deserves a response, and that some people simply aren't worth the effort. It says, your negativity doesn't get to invade my space. The rudeness becomes exposed for what it is, hollow and attention-seeking. And the Sigma isn't playing that game. What makes this so satisfying is that it's not only about frustrating the rude person, it's about maintaining control over the situation. The Sigma doesn't need to react emotionally, and that, in itself, is a form of dominance. While the aggressor fumbles, trying to provoke a response, the Sigma remains unshaken, and their inability to get under her skin becomes their downfall. At the end of the day, silence is more than just a lack of words. It's a powerful statement. It's the Sigma's way of saying, you're not important enough to warrant a response, and frankly, your words are irrelevant. And in that silence, the rude person is left with nothing but their own nonsense echoing back at them, confused, frustrated, and completely disarmed. In the end, Sigma females aren't just surviving the chaos of rude people, they're effortlessly transcending it. Their mastery over themselves and their ability to remain unshaken in the face of negativity makes them a force to be reckoned with. By employing strategies like the poker face, redirecting the conversation, or simply letting silence speak volumes, they've perfected the art of disarming rude individuals without ever stooping to their level. It's not about winning every battle, but about knowing which ones are beneath their energy. What sets them apart isn't just their resilience or their unbothered demeanor, it's the quiet power they exude, the kind that confuses, frustrates, and ultimately neutralizes the chaos of rudeness. In their world, negativity doesn't get the privilege of a reaction, and their composure becomes the weapon that leaves rude people with nothing but their own pettiness to contend with. So, to the rude individuals who think they can provoke a Sigma female, remember this. Their silence, their calm, and their steady resolve are more than enough to leave you in the dust. Because at the end of the day, Sigma females aren't just immune to your rudeness. They've already won the game before you even knew it started. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the art of dealing with rudeness like a Sigma female, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join the community for more insights, wisdom, and the kind of content that keeps you one step ahead. We've got plenty more to share, and trust me, you won't want to miss out. Go ahead, subscribe, and let's keep leveling up together. Thanks for watching, Jules. See you in the next video. Bye for now and stay blessed.